Hello everybody and welcome to another Transformers third-party review. This video is brought to you by two companies. We have Robot Kingdom and of course ShowZ Store, who are working extremely closely with Alien Attack themselves as a distributor. This is of course the Alien Attack A-01CC. This is their interpretation of Age of Extinction / The Last Knight Optimus Prime. On the side and back of the box we have El-Cid, and we have him in bot mode, a very brief bio, and a coming soon for the STF-02 Zukov, which looks very much like Hound. And on the bottom of the box we have the choking hazard warning label and all of the studios whom were involved in the production. El-Cid comes packaged in a very firm styrofoam box and includes a epic novel of an instruction manual with some really nice artwork on the center page there, but there is a lot involved in the transformation of El-Cid. And here we have him out of his styrofoam prison. He comes with one bio card, Alien Attack there, and on the back we have his stats, speed. I thought that would have been faster, but I suppose he is a truck. We get his gun, very nice detailing on the gun. Love how that looks, although that seems crazy, scary, fragile. I do not want to break that on there, but definitely a very nice looking gun. We have his sword, lovely pearlescent-y red there on the hilt, and then we've got some nice Cybertronian detailing all the way up that blade, and the same on the other side. Really striking sword there. Now the shield is a huge lump. There's so much heft to the shield. This shield alone is heavier than some figures that I own. Crazy levels of detailing on there as well. And again, we've got this really bold pearlescent red, and of course we do have the gun, and we have this huge chunk of a peg which plugs into Prime's arm. And here we have El-Cid all armed up with his blade and shield, and he does look fantastic. Now this is not without its faults. I will cover the faults when we get to it, but to look at, he is stunning. Just taking a look at that face, that is a incredibly accurate sculpt of Prime on there. You can move the little ears, they can go up and down. What a very handsome chap. The head does rotate left and right, albeit very stiff. We can also tilt the head back and forwards, and we can also lift the mask up individually, much like you do with the official release of Prime, and then just minding these ears, hence the reason they can rotate. Just spin the face around and then bring that back down and bring your ears down, and there is the unmasked face of Prime. We see a hint of chrome underneath there as well, underneath his big man pads. Gorgeous. We have these sections here. This is my biggest concern, this hinge underneath here. It supports the entire backpack section that holds all of that into place, along with these clips here. Not sure if this is man enough. I will see how it bears out. I've done a few transformations so far and I haven't had a great deal of issues with it, but I can see if anything's going to break on this figure, then it would be that joint there. Look at that shield. I do love how that shield looks. Detail wise, they've nailed it. For those of you loving the Bay movieverse, here he is with some of the other figures, both official and third party and fourth party, just to give you an idea of how he fares. Now, he's still smaller than Rensora, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. He's a fraction, what do you say, probably about a head or so smaller, but I always see Primes being slightly smaller than Megatron, but that's just me. He again is about a head or so taller than the MPM Optimus Prime. He stands about the same over the Black Mamba Nitro Zeus, and again over the Iron Warrior Ratchet, and the Legendary Toys Bumblebee, and the Model Wizard Hound, and of course Unique Toys Parakill. It'll be interesting to see how he scales next to Unique Toys' Prime, which will be coming, I believe, end of March, I've been told. So I will be getting that as well, and of course comparing the two. But it will be interesting to see. And personally, I think this one has more of the Age of Extinction vibe. And then the Unique Toys version, I kind of see him as getting all of that Knight's armor, and then being the last Knight interpretation of Optimus Prime. And here we have him alongside the MP10 Optimus Prime, and of course the Kubenbau oversized AD-31 Optimus Prime. Still a very nice figure and a very cheap, affordable Prime, but doesn't have this level of detailing. And here we have Prime on the turntable, just to give you a 360-degree view of how he looks. Now, the shield does tab on to the back there, and the sword does slide nicely between those wheels. I assume I've done that correctly. There is nothing in the instructions which tells us how to attach those other than a picture showing those already attached. I think he's got a very nice profile. I don't think he looks abnormally large. You know, he has a very slim physique. I do love those very hunched up neck pads he's got there. Now, when you're trying to pose Prime, the ball jointed flaps, such as the ones on the shoulders and the ones on the hips there, they have a mind of their own, and they do tend to just pop off. It's not a huge thing because they're easily put back on, but it's just more of an inconvenience, especially the shoulder ones, because of the way they are shaped. The more you move the shoulder, the more they fire off like some uncontrolled projectile missile coming from his shoulder. Even having problems with the hands. Sometimes when you move the arms around, the hands, which are ball mounted, again will fire off in a random direction. But once you get over the fact that some of the joints launch on their own, then you can put Prime in a very nice pose, and he does look striking. I mean, visually there is nothing wrong with this rendition of Prime. He looks incredible. You can see that there's so much work gone into him, especially with the sculpt and levels of detailing. That alone gives him the right to be part of my MPM series. He's got that aesthetic down to a T. As you can see here, I have a small peg. This is what pegs onto the back of the shield. You don't need it when you have it stored on the back there, so I do like to just plug it onto the arm just so I don't lose it, because I am prone to losing small objects. Think of that what you will. One thing I really would have liked though is them to do the actual face that they've got printed on the instructions. That kind of Nemesis Prime look with the big red mark going down the face. I would have really liked that, but beggars can't be choosers. Right, first of all, let's remove these weapons. It just tabs onto here. I think that's how it's meant to go. And the sword, I have literally just slid down between those two tires. Again, I'm not entirely sure that's how it's meant to go, but that's how I did it. Now let's cover the articulation. Right, the head is stiff, but it does rotate left and right, and we can go up and down quite freely. As previously mentioned, the antennae do move, which aids in the mask being able to move. Shoulder pads are on ball joints. They can move left and right. The shoulders are extremely tight, and this joint here kind of moves. I don't know if it's meant to move, but the joint is meant to come up and down. As you can see, it wants to move this entire section here, and this can move forwards and backwards, but as we go backwards it does catch on this piece here, and you kind of need to angle the shoulder pad, and oh, it's not come off yet, we're doing well. But no, coming out to the side, you really have to, there it goes, move this up completely and hold on to this joint here because it's such a strong ratchet. Right, we have a really stiff bicep, like so, which is great. You get a rotation on said bicep. We get ball jointed fists, as well as a really nice ability to tilt that hand, which is fantastic when we have a sword. We get a pivot and a bend on that thumb, and the fingers themselves are fully articulated. We have a nice peg on the inside of the hand, which we use for attaching the sword. The waist can rotate quite freely on a nice ratchet joint there, and we do have an ab crunch. If you just press on his chest, we can tug, and that will come this far forwards, so that's a pretty decent ab crunch there. Hip skirts can come out to the front and to the sides, allowing for the legs to go this far forwards, that far backwards. Incredibly stiff ratchets, and one more, there we go, out to the side. We get an upper thigh rotation coming down to these knees. We have a sliding peg on this knee here, so we can slide up and down, which does allow for much more range on that knee, but it's not the most attractive of knee joints, and it kind of loses all of that stability when you do that. So if we slide that back down, lock that in, and we just got that nice single joint on that knee. And I've lost a hip pad. There we go, we've lost a hip pad. That's two to pop off. We come down to the feet. They can go up and down quite freely. We can't rotate them left and right, but we can pivot them left and right, and the heel spur is independent again, so that can move up and down on its own, as well as rotate side to side. And although some of those joints are a bit you can still pose him in some incredibly nice poses. I think the biggest issue with this figure is just that inconsistency. Some of the joints are incredibly tight and some are a little bit too loose. That can't take anything away from just how amazing this figure looks. Now, if you want a Prime which just stands up and doesn't have to transform, then this is an incredible piece. But this guy does transform, and it's not the easiest of transformations. It's kind of based on the AD-31 Optimus Prime and the Transformers RID first edition, I believe it was, Optimus Prime. It's kind of a hybrid of the two, and does that work? Let's see. Right, now to start getting him transformed up, let's just remove his shield, and you want to remove the peg that goes in the shield, and let's just remove his sword. These backpack tabs just pop outwards. Just pull that away, and that's going to drop down. Do the same on both sides. Just pull that away, that drops down. Just push down, and that drops down. Now with the shoulders dropped down, you'll see a noticeable step up to that piece. You want to bring the shoulder up. Again, you've got to negotiate these arm pads so they don't get in the way, and with that shoulder up, get this piece here and pull down, and then work your fingers in there, just opening up that joint. There we go. That was easy, wasn't it? Now at this point he's doing his very best Optimus Primal impression. These shoulders are on this sliding hinge here. You want to make sure the hinge is slid all the way down, and these chest pieces push up. So just push up on both sides, and this is going to fold into the center on this hinge and this hinge. And now that we've lined these up, there is a tab here and a slot on the side there that's going to push into said slot like this. Right, take a look at these shoulders. First of all, the ball joint needs to come around to this side. This piece here is actually going to untab. That's on a hinge. We have these two pieces here which just pull out, and this is actually now on a sliding joint. We could slide that up. You want to just hold that in place while we rotate the lower arm so that we've got the truck section facing upwards. Open up this section here, rotate the fists around, make sure that the fists are fully closed off like so, bend them upwards on this joint here, and then bend this joint here upwards again, so we have something that looks like this, like he's doing an arm curl. We can then undo this roof panel, bring it around, swing this out, and that's just going to slide in and tab in like this, and it's on a swivel and a hinge, so we want to rotate, swivel, and bring that up and over this forearm section. Now in theory we should then be able to bring these in together, bending this up and up like so, and then push and tab. So we have kind of like this pregnant belly thing hanging down. Untab these shoulder sections, they're just tabbed in on here. Come around to the back here, there's a tyre which is just tabbed in to the actual back of Prime. We can now bring these down to the sides. Now we're ready for some robot origami. You see this hinge here, if we give that a tug, we reveal a little bit more sculpt there. That's going to form the side of the cab, and if you see here, you've got all of this back panel piece, thinking that needs to come round to the front here. Now the way to do this is to lift this panel up, and as we lift that up, this piece here is going to come all the way around. The wheel will come around, over, bend, and then bend again on this axis, placing the wheel in the right location. So at this present time we should have a Prime that looks like this. Around to the back here now. Previously I mentioned there's a couple of hinges that really scare me on this figure. The one we're now about to find is one of those. Let's just bring this out to the side and bring this one out. This here is quite a scary little hinge. It's not the most robust of hinges, so don't get me wrong, I don't think it's going to break because there's no real weight on here, but it does kind of put the fear of God into me. Let's just bring his head backwards, and as we bring the head back, this whole panel here rotates, and there's these locating grooves just on the inside there which allows the head to stay put. I found the biggest challenge with this is sliding these parts of the bonnet just under the lip of that window, but once they're under we should just be able to join them in, to have those in nicely, so it's a very firm, secure piece. Make sure these flaps here are out of the way. We can now bring this down, and then as we do, this is going to come up. This piece is going to collapse and the front panel comes up and over. There's a tab just on this lip here, and as this flattens, this can come round, and that's just going to push and tab in, he says. Bring this in, and there's this tab here that's going to tab in to the side of that bonnet section, and with everything starting to peg in, we should, he says, make sure this is tabbed in as well. Look, these are my biggest problems on this bonnet section, are these side tabs here. They just don't want to stay in as well as they should, but hopefully once we get this front panel locked, then everything should hold together nice and firmly, and we can just push these wheels into that groove. That's where it's meant to go. Come to these neck pads. It's going to come around. It's actually going to rotate all the way around. And if we look on the underside here, these tabs just on the inside, and locate the pegs. I'm going to take this off just so you can see what I'm doing. These pegs here lift upwards like that, and they can come all the way up. Now this obviously has to be connected like so, and what we're going to do, we're going to rotate it around, bend it back on itself, and as we bring this up to the center and just slide up and out of the way, so they're nicely hidden away. I like that. That's pretty darn good. As to are these just coming up and storing right out of the way. Come around to the legs, and with this piece facing forward, you want to pull it up, and that goes out to the side. The toes rotate at the back, pop up, go inside there, and this whole section here is going to hinge upwards, and this is going to be on the back just behind all of this backpack section here. Untab this panel piece like so. These are going to extend, that's going to rock up, and then slide it back down using that slider like so. Again, another little tiny piece that does worry me slightly. You need to just unpeg some of that detailing on the leg. This is quite flexible, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't scare the bejeebies out of me. That just tucks in behind this piece. To get these wheels out, give it a little push, and this will then flex outwards. That can be rotated and placed in like so, and this is where it feels slightly RID. We've got this leg panel here, and there is a slot just on the base of these wheels that's going to plug in to the back of the truck, plugging that in nice and firmly, and then this piece here hinge down and lay nice and flat on the back there. Once you move the hips upwards, God, they are incredibly stiff. Make sure that ratchet is fully down. That now allows these legs, surprisingly enough, to come in and tab together. Come around to the top here. This part is all going to unfold. Again, very, very kind of origami-ish. Everything folds outwards, and it's all going to push and tab in to the correct places. Try not to get my fingers in the way, but this is very fiddly on the inside here. Again, with the back panel that comes down, extends. Now, as we're unfolding this piece, be really careful of this little hinge in here. I don't know if you can see it. It's just a plastic hinge clipped around a mushroom peg there. I've had to tighten the screw on mine because it does tend to pop off when we're moving everything around. But as you can see, we're going to move this roof section up and over, and we're going to bring it forwards, rocking on that hinge. There. Now before we tab those into place, we need to sort out all of this section here. Now this piece here can just fold backwards on this hinge and then wiggles in, and as you can see, all of that piece here lines up. This is going to come down on this very flexible hinge, too flexible I think. That's what I was worried about earlier on. This piece here pulls forwards, which allows us to slide this section up, and then this can come back over, locking that into place. This can now bend on this hinge. I like to support it from behind, move this piece inwards, so it's now going to clear, and as you can see, we want to line this up as well, so it's going to come in, and then we're just going to collapse this hinge inwards, and everything's just going to slot in and line up nicely. He says just push and slide, push and slide. This piece here comes upwards, and these two pieces just slide into one another, holding all this section here into place. And you want to extend this on this sliding hinge all the way to the top, and now it's all the way to the top. You can bring it all the way up and over, which then allows us to drop this down, and as we drop this down, it's going to slide in to the top of the truck, and then we can push this side panel down and just tab that into place, and then we can just tab the roof panels in as well. Starting at the back, make sure all of these are tabbed in along that roof panel. The smokestacks can be fully extended up. Just bring this piece around. These smokestacks flip and rotate, and then we're going to bend this hinge backwards, and in doing so, that's going to go back and tab in on itself into that hole. Not the easiest thing to capture on camera, and that just pushes in. Then it's just a matter of squaring everything up. The problem I'm having with this is if you push one piece too hard, another piece moves, and that's definitely not ideal. I mean, there's a lot of intricate transformation involved with this guy, and the last thing you want is to be moving something and everything falls apart. Just plug those legs in, and just to reinforce the legs, these pieces here slide across on sliding pegs, and they join in the center like so. Make sure everything's tabbed in. I believe we have to remove the adapter from the shield, and then we can bring that in. That goes on there and on there, and we can just push that down. And finally, let's just move this back wheel guard, make sure the wheels are tabbed in, and there we have Prime in his vehicle mode. That's a rather fetching long nose truck. Just need to make sure that these wheels are pegged in. There's a small tab on the inside there which holds those into place. It's not the easiest one to line up, but once they're in, they should stay in. Fairly tidy underside going on there, and there we have him. I'm struggling to get the wheels to line up perfectly. I'm not sure if there's a way or I've missed a step or something, but the front and back do kind of line up. There's a slight twist on it. It may be that I've moved something in, or something's not quite come tabbed in properly, which is more than likely the case, because this is not the most enjoyable of transformations. You move one thing and another thing moves, and so on and so forth. But overall, it's a very nice, clean representation of Prime. It's just a little bit tab-tastic for my liking. I can't seem to get everything to line up correctly. Like I said, I may have done something wrong in the transformation, but I tried to follow the steps as best I could, but there seems to be a little bit of a twist on these wheels. They don't quite sit square, but all in all, that's not a bad looking truck. Here he is alongside some of the other figures. We've got the Black Mamba version of Optimus Prime. We've got the Shattered Glass MP10. We have Farage or Dino just sitting there. That's a very good scale in my opinion. And unfortunately for those of you questioning, no, that does not line up with the MP10 trailer, although maybe we'll get an adapter. I can't imagine it's going to be too difficult to get an adapter to fit in there. I mean, those screws look about the right kind of distance. There's not a great deal in it. I'm sure somebody can make an adapter. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's not without its flaws. My smokestacks do tend to keep sliding down. The tabs do pop out. The wheels don't quite line up. But that being said, it still looks fantastic in both modes when you get everything lined up, and it is literally black magic. I don't know how they figure out how to get all of this to work. There's a lot of bending, a lot of flexing, a lot of things turning inside out there, and the overall effect is staggering. You know, we have a very good Optimus Prime with high resemblance of his movie screen counterpart, and the truck is definitely a noticeable long nose truck. There is no doubt about it. Alien Attack have done a very good job, but the execution, in my opinion, could be slightly better. Those hinges did leave me kind of wincing and praying they didn't snap, and there's a lot of twisting and turning. You need kind of 3 or 4 hands involved to get everything to tab in as it should. That being said, if you have ordered Prime, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. I don't know if the Unique Toys is going to be any less complex, judging by what they did with their Perukil. That again was black magic. I think it's going to be swings or roundabouts. It's going to be whether you kind of want that Last Night feel with the kind of armor and bulky torso, or whether you want more of the Age of Extinction feel with Prime slightly more slender as he gets his knight armor. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I hope you found this video useful. I'm sorry it's dragged on, but there was quite a bit involved. I've got a lot of fingerprints on my Chrome. I've included a link just up here for Farage, so you can follow that through and see how that guy fares. And until next time, from myself and Optimus, thanks for watching. Goodbye.